Dan and Amy, I can't remember this guy's name. We were talking about it during the break. Somebody wanted to bet me about Trump winning Pennsylvania. I want to hear from that guy. You know who you are in our listening audience. You call in. You call in and we talk.
312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line.
The other thing we were mentioning in terms of people that deserve plaudits for their performance, regardless of whether you enjoyed the outcome or not, Kellyanne Conway.
Yeah, I was just saying she was solid. She was on message. She handled every question thrown at her beautifully, and that was one of the best moves Donald Trump, I think, ever made, was have her be his campaign manager.
Yeah, I mean, consultants, campaign managers, they get too much credit, too much blame. They're like baseball coaches or football coaches, right? But
Did you just use the sports metaphor?
But only I get to use them in politics.
Oh, okay.
Right. I loathe when people use them except me. But the Trump campaign so unsettled after the convention, and it really did seem like Kellyanne Conway's emergence on the campaign provided some adult stewardship.
Yeah, and a softer Donald Trump.
Provided a steady political hand. He clearly was listening to her throughout. So I think she does deserve a lot. And I haven't always been the biggest Kellyanne Conway fan, but I think she deserves a lot of credit for marshaling what was sort of a hot mess for long periods up and down throughout this cycle, shepherding it to victory. She does deserve a lot of credit. There's no question about that.
We have Donald Trump meeting with President Obama tomorrow. And at 8:30 this morning, 9:30 Central Time, Hillary Clinton is finally going to be delivering her concession speech, and we're going to have it for you live.
That should be tearful.
Well, I can't wait to hear what she has to say.
And
I'm sure a lot of her supporters want. You don't want to hear her concession speech? We've waited a long time. Now, remember in 2004, John Kerry and Edwards, they waited until the next day to deliver their concession speech.
When the Obamas leave the White House and transition it over to the Trumps, do you think President Obama is going to leave an upper decker for Trump in the presidential bathroom?
I just was thinking the same thing. I swear to God, I was thinking the same thing.
I think
they're going to leave something special for him somewhere.
This is an election that deserves a MacGruber reference.
Oh, yeah.
David Freddoso joins us now to get more serious. He is the opinion editor for the Washington Examiner, of course, WashingtonExaminer.com. David, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So,
wow.
So Never Trumpers, Bill Kristol offered a final salvo yesterday to the Never Trumpers, saying he was, proud of the quote unquote Never Trump group that stuck together throughout and made a statement of principle, and that's fine. Where does the party go from here? Conservative intellectuals, conservative grassroots. How does it all congeal back together under President Trump, or does it?
Well, what I would like to think it does is it forms a core of, that just as in everything else, it sticks to principle, that all of the concerns that conservatives had about Obama centralizing executive power and expanding his own power continue as we move into, I'm as shocked as anyone else to be saying this, but as we move into a Trump administration, that's an important thing for conservatives to think about. And if for, in a way they owe it to Trump, but really they owe it to America, to give Trump the kind of support that involves wishing his presidency supports the common good. And that means not just giving him everything he wants. It means sometimes opposing him very vigorously and perhaps often opposing him vigorously, but it's also going to mean working with him. And, I think everybody's a little bit shocked at what happened last night, and nobody knows, did he win was it because of Conway? Was it despite Conway? What just happened? But you have to remember, winning an election doesn't change who you are or what you say. And, I was impressed by Trump's concession speech, but we don't actually know what kind of person he's going to be going forward. I mean, has this all been an act? I'm almost ready to believe anything.
Trump's victory speech, not concession speech.
Sorry, yes, of course, his victory speech. When he spoke, he was conciliatory. Mm-hmm. He was not the kind of person that we've seen him be throughout the entire campaign. So is he capable of governing in a different way? Are conservatives going to have to oppose him, or maybe they won't? I don't know.
Well, he's
But
never
I think
served.
They have to stick to their principles.
He's never served in government or in the military, and I just worry that I still have some trust issues with him and temperament issues. Do you think he's ready to be president?
No, I don't, but I don't think it matters. I mean, the voters have just decided to make him president anyway. So we have to welcome him to the presidency and say, well, there are going to be areas as conservatives where we'll want to work with him, but we're going to have to, we also have to form the opposition, which partisans in Washington are terrible about, by the way. They in Congress, they tend to play goalkeeper for their president if they're the same party. They won't do any oversight. They won't criticize. They won't, that can't happen with this presidency. If it does, I don't know what to say. The Republican Party cannot just circle the wagons around a President Trump. I think it has to form a loyal but and at times cooperative, but at times fiercely resisting opposition.
Yeah, and I don't think there's much disagreement to that. I mean, obviously you have independent thinkers in the intellectual set, but you also have independent thinkers that are members of the Senate and members of the House, and there's not going to be agreement on every issue. Particularly trade could be a sticking point among some, like in the Freedom Caucus and other issues. But there are certainly areas of common interest that he could start with, like, say, Obamacare, like, say, the Iranian nuclear deal, like, say, structural tax reform, that perhaps could get the administration off on a right foot.
No, that's right. I think that also conservatives are probably going to be on the same page with whatever judicial picks Trump decides to make.
Right.
At least assuming he follows the lists of picks that he put out, or he just puts it into the hands of someone who deals with things like that. But yeah, there are going to be points of friction. I think that, the whole business, I mean, what actually happens, have we actually gotten a chance to think this through yet? Is Mexico actually going to step forward and volunteer to pay for the wall? I mean, after the result, I don't know that it seems quite as crazy as before. It still seems a little crazy to me. But there are going to be a lot of measures out there that Trump wants to do where it's going to be interesting to see how Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, where they decide to cooperate. Do they just hand Trump the keys to the Congress? Do they push him in a certain direction?
Well, speaking of Paul Ryan, there was a bit of a row on the set of Fox last night between Karl Rove and Tucker Carlson, and that, I guess, is foreshadowing of potentially a row coming. A lot of talk inside the Beltway in the last week about Paul Ryan's future as Speaker. What's your sense of it? Is Paul Ryan still going to be the House Speaker?
I believe he will. I don't think there's anyone else who can actually do the job or who would want the job. And it's entirely possible that some of the Freedom Caucus guys will challenge him. We have a piece up about that at WashingtonExaminer.com. But it is too soon to tell. And I just don't see anyone being able to find the kind of support that Ryan has within the caucus. And if you can't, yes, you have to win enough of the caucus to become Speaker, but you also have to win within the caucus to become Speaker. And, I just don't know who's going to be able to do that.
David, during the campaign, Donald Trump kept saying that he's going to assign a special prosecutor to investigate Hillary Clinton's emails. Do you think now that he is president-elect and when he becomes president that he's going to go through with that promise?
I hope not. I mean, I thought that his victory speech last night set the right tone in terms of being conciliatory. I mean, nobody likes a poor loser. And, to be honest, I don't know. I mean, I still really do think Hillary Clinton broke the law. I think she lied multiple times. But if you win and then you start putting your opponents in jail, I mean, it doesn't send the right message, especially if you start talking about doing that. I mean, I found it really difficult to watch Trump during that debate say that. It was I thought it kind of killed what seemed like a decent debate performance when he just kind of offhandedly said, well, gee, because I'm going to put her in jail, But, whatever you think about her right now, her threat to the Republic is kind of going to be minimal If eventually the FBI or the DOJ decide to bring charges, there's no hurry. Right now, I think what Trump needs to do is reassure the country that he is not, I mean, I think a lot of people are afraid we just handed the White House to a maniac, and I think he really needs to go out of his way, even if it means bending over backwards, erring on the side of caution. He's got to show the country, okay, wait, there is actually a real Donald Trump here who's not, not a maniac, who can govern. I can be conciliatory. You don't have to hate me with every, fiber of your being. I don't think, even when Bush won in 2004, I don't remember seeing the kind of despair on people's faces that showed up at the Clinton party last night.
No, it was, you're right.
The shock, just absolute horror
that
you could see.
Yeah, no, it was very enjoyable.
Trump's not going to overcome all of it, but he's, he has to try. He has to try to show, hey, okay, look, we said a lot of things during that campaign that I think neither of us meant, and we're gonna find ways to work together. I mean, this country is so divided. If he comes in again like Obama did and says, well, I won, so screw you guys, and I'm doing it my way, I think that he might end up getting similar results to Obama, which is loses the House, loses the Senate, loses the state legislatures, loses the governorships. His party is now a wreck. Obama is leading the Democratic Party a complete and total wreck.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point with an eye down the road. David Freddoso, opinion editor for the Washington Examiner, WashingtonExaminer.com. David, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
And he joined us on our Turnkey.Pro answer line.